And so for the first time ever, our first guest tonight was banned on television last night. Stephen Colbert's most popular guest of the year so far is not a movie star. He's someone most Americans have never heard of until CBS decided that their viewers should not hear from him last night on Stephen Colbert's program. In 2006, Stephen Colbert started using the phrase the Colbert bump to describe the surge in popularity that could happen for someone just by being on TV with Stephen. A surge in book sales, or in the case of politicians, a bump up in the polls. And now the Colbert bump has taken on new meaning. And we here at The Last Word stand ready to accept any guest on this program after that guest is bumped out of Stephen Colbert's show by cowardly corporate lawyers. Last night, when I watched Stephen Colbert tell the story of what happened at his show yesterday, I thought, let's get James Talarico on this show tonight. That actually wasn't a photograph of James Talarico because the network wouldn't allow Stephen Colbert to actually even show an image of James Talarico. It took CBS's lawyers almost 24 hours to come up with a response to Stephen Colbert. In a written statement, CBS said, quote, "The Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview with Representative James Talarico. The show was provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for two other candidates, including Representative Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how the equal time for other candidates could be fulfilled. The Late Show decided to present the interview through its YouTube channel with on-air promotion on the broadcast rather than potentially providing the equal time option." The CBS lawyers are factually and legally wrong, as anyone who knows the law should know. It would be impossible for James Talarico's appearance or any politician's appearance on Stephen Colbert's show to trigger the FCC equal time rule. The rule does not apply to entertainment television like Stephen Colbert's show in any way. FCC Commissioner Ana Gomez issued a statement instructing the CBS lawyers on the law, saying CBS is fully protected under the First Amendment to determine what interviews it airs, which makes its decision to yield to political pressure all the more disappointing. The FCC is powerless to impose restrictions on protected speech, and any attempt to intimidate broadcasters into self-censorship undermines both press freedom and public trust. Remember this about the CBS lawyers. They are the weakest, most cowardly corporate lawyers in America. They are actually in a tie with ABC's lawyers, who we will get to in a moment. The CBS lawyers who are now trying to tell Stephen Colbert who can be a guest on his show work for a parent company. From television last night and back on television tonight, with us is Texas State Representative James Talarico. He's a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate in Texas now. Thank you very much for doing this, by the way. I understand what it must have been like the last 24 hours trying to figure out how to go forward from here, especially today being the first day of early voting in Texas. And I know viewers outside of Texas and in Texas are looking at you and the other Democratic candidates running and wondering, is this the year? Is this the year when the Democrats can finally win statewide in Texas again? And just to set up the degree of difficulty, as you know, it's been 38 years since a Democrat won a Senate election in Texas. That was Lloyd Bentsen running for re-election. People saw Beto O'Rourke come along and place that bet, think he could be the one who did it. He didn't make it. What's different now?
Well, I think the reason the Trump administration and their billionaire friends are trying to silence me and this movement is because they're worried that we are going to flip Texas in November of this year. There is a growing backlash across our state to the extremism and the corruption in our government. And we are building a movement to take back our state and take back our country. We have traveled every corner of this state, from Beaumont to El Paso, from Amarillo to Brownsville, and everywhere in between. We've recruited more than 22,000 volunteers who are out there doing the organizing work across our state. And we have shattered grassroots fundraising records, all without taking a dime of corporate PAC money. We're going to have to do a lot of work to overcome this kind of censorship. We got to get our message out to the voters across this state. And so if your viewers want to help us, they can go to jamestalarico.com. They can sign up to donate. They can sign up to volunteer. It's going to take all of us to pull off this feat of winning Texas, but it is doable. I'm seeing it on the ground. We just launched our Take Back Texas tour. We're going to go to every part of our state over these last 2 weeks of the primary campaign. And I think we're going to surprise a lot of people in November of this year.
Rachel Maddow last night on this network covered a protest in Texas against a possible Trump detention center being opened there. And these were Trump voters who were standing up in their town saying, nope, we don't want that here. And so there has been, on that issue at least, about these detention centers, some apparent separation of support of Trump voters for Trump ideas.
Well, and I just got done with a packed rally here in Central Texas. We had 1,000 people show up. I can't tell you how many folks came up to me after the event and whispered, I'm not a Democrat, like it's some kind of secret. And we're seeing that all over the state. It's independents, it's some Republicans, it's some Trump voters who are really fed up with what they're seeing in Washington. But it's also a lot of new voters, a lot of young people, first-time voters who are showing up at our events and saying it's the first political event they've ever attended. So there is something happening in Texas. It's our job to harness that energy, to channel that backlash into a win at the ballot box. We have a moral imperative to win this race in November, because if we don't win, we can't help people. And so our movement here is built to win, and I hope people across Texas and across the country will join us.
In a podcast over the weekend, President Obama talked about the value of having younger candidates who can energize younger voters. That tips in your direction, as it does for your opponent in the Democratic primary, Jasmine Crockett. But he also, in the what we just heard him say about you, that point about the most important thing for a candidate is to actually know what you think and really be that person in presenting yourself to the electorate. Did the president get it right when he was talking about you? Is that the way you see yourself?
Yeah, my faith is central in my life. My granddad was a Baptist preacher in South Texas, and he told me when I was real little that our job is to follow Jesus's 2 commandments, to love God and to love neighbor. And that second commandment, to love thy neighbor as thyself, that's what motivated me to go into public service. First as a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio, now as a public official in the state legislature who's running for the U.S. Senate. And as a legislator, I have passed major bills to bring down the cost of housing, the cost of childcare, the cost of prescription drugs, including insulin. I am trying to love my neighbor through public policy. I'm trying to make my neighbor's life a little easier and a little better. That is my why. That's what gets me out of bed every morning, is living out my faith and loving my neighbors through this campaign and hopefully next year in the U.S. Senate. And so I think all candidates have to be honest about their why. Why do they do this? And if you can be honest about that, if you can be yourself, in my experience, you can connect with just about anybody. And I think you're seeing young candidates in the Democratic Party stepping up to do that all over the country.
One of the things that was so impressive about the way you handled some of those issues in those hearings is that you don't just go against the particular issue that they're talking about that day, whether it be litter boxers or the 10 Commandments or something else. You actually showed us what you think the whole piece is about. The litter boxers are really about defunding, in effect, public education.
That's right. That's right. Once a teacher, always a teacher. And so I utilize my experience from the classroom to try to break down these really complicated debates, these complex policies, in ways that working people who are busy with their own lives can understand, even if they're just scrolling through TikTok. And I always say that teaching middle school is the best preparation for politics, as a joke, but there is a certain amount of truth to that. If you can boil down these things for 11 and 12-year-olds to understand, then you're able to do it in these really heated debates in the Texas legislature. And so at my best, I feel like I can draw upon that experience as a teacher to try to help my constituents, help Texans understand what's being done in their name at the state capitol and what's being done in their name in our national capital.
You know, I taught middle school as a substitute teacher, and it was the hardest job I ever had, but it stays with you. The lessons stay with you. Texas State Representative James Talarico, right. Thank you very much for returning to television tonight, where you are welcome to return again.